Hello everybody, welcome back to Wrecked City. The question is that do we recover from here? And there is a good chance that we will. To be honest with you, there's a absolutely perfectly sound technical reason as to why we would recover from here. But recovery to where? That's the question. Is it going to do a V-shaped recovery to where areas lost, like 66,000? To be honest with you, I'm going to say it out loud. I think it's actually relatively likely to, and it really is. It is actually quite likely. Now, obviously, there was things happening yesterday, wasn't there? I don't know what the algorithm allows me to say these days, but there was things happening, and it certainly kicked everything down the stairs more than it probably, or maybe not more than it should have done, but definitely faster than it should have done. And as a result of that, there's not been any reason to assume that momentum is going to turn to the upside because it all happened so fast. You know, if we had crept down, and again, you know, we're talking about Bitcoin pulling back for since late last week, really. So almost a week ago, we were talking about the potential of coming down to these areas. The Bitcoin now down just over 9% from the top to the support here, which is a 200 simple moving average on a 4-hourly. Which, you know, like it or loathe it, it's a golden cross retest of a lower zone. So this is like. So I'm on Twitter, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but and I rarely tweet. But I did tweet. I said, look, this is the box here. This is going to be our box. If we're going to bounce, it'll be between the 200 exponential and 200 simple on the 4-hourly. This is a golden cross, and as a result of a golden cross, you would expect a V-shaped recovery, which is very likely to happen given the technical situation that we're looking at right now. And that is basically what we appear to be doing on Bitcoin. Not just for Bitcoin, but there's plenty of altcoins that are doing the same thing as well. Not all, but plenty of them. So we'll, that's what the Patreon live streams are about. Now, last night we were sort of crapping our pants from a financial perspective in the event that certain things were to get worse. Because if it does, then obviously supports mean nothing to a much bigger scenario. The next major support for me is going to be this horizontal down here around 57,600. This is where we had a lot of, and this is just in the temporary, most recent period of price action. Resistances, supports, resistances, supports, and then finally supports. So that brings you down to this area if we were to get that. So it's not all is not lost if we were to lose this area. You just go for the next level of support, which is going to be here. But so far, it appears to be holding. So looking for a V-shaped recovery is probably the most appropriate way to play this current scenario, which means Bitcoin back up to $66,000. Some people probably won't like that prospect, but you know, because it's just counter to, I imagine, what everybody else is going to be saying today, which is get the hell out of the world. Just get on the rocket ship, go to Mars, hide under the soil. It's all over. Well, it might be. I'm not going to say it's not, but you know, as far as the chat is concerned, it's offering an opportunity, which for the most part was the takeaway from yesterday's stream, last night's Patreon stream, which is that, look, clearly there's forces outside of the chart which can take it down, but if you have the chart and only the chart to go by, you have to play the cards you dealt, and the cards we were dealt was 200 simple, which is the last stop of support. So we've seen that on Bitcoin has held so far, and we're sort of creeping up a little bit. I mean, let's just measure that move just to see what it looks like at the moment. I know it's not going to be much, but so far it's up, well, just short of 3%. Fair play, fair play. But recognise this. No bullish divergence taking place on that. We were looking at it on the 15-minute time frame actually last night, and we were seeing all this bullish divergence leading into, I suppose, the last move down, where we're getting our bounce from now. So, yeah, fair enough. We'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Ethereum's a sorry state of affairs, but still doing the same kind of thing. It was a weaker chart, has been a weaker chart, and continues to be a weaker chart. But if you're going to bounce from anywhere, again, it's going to be bouncing from here. Probably this one will not make its way back up to the previous, most recent local high, because it was weak leading into this move down, which is why it went down below it and why it's still fannying around this level now. That is that. But when it comes to other altcoins, obviously XRP was a bit of an anomaly yesterday because of what happened with that BITRUE scenario. But yeah, BITRUE, blah, blah, blah. ETF listing, please let me have an ETF on XRP. Okay, fine. And then, you know, just at the right time, I suppose, when everything was dumping, it actually went up. We couldn't believe it when we were doing the stream. I was like, what is, I thought there was a glitch. I was like, really? Really? In the green? What the heck? And then it all made sense after the stream when I saw the news. But still, as a result, better than most. It didn't even touch the 200 simple anyway. Even when it got, even when it got bad, it didn't even come down to that. So, still the pillar of strength, we'll call it. Not exactly, but if you take yourself to the daily, you will see golden crosses are still holding up fine. Closures above 21.20. Again today, not digging down deeper. If anything, that wick yesterday took you to a 50 exponential, which is all part of the golden cross of the daily. And recognise what the weekly says. The weekly is still sort of mostly above all moving averages, so it is primed for a big move. And then lastly, not that I'm highlighting anything, but this is an example of an altcoin that is doing a really good setup here. So you had the nice, massive, big move on SHIB. You had a terrible pullback for those who bought the top. Somebody bought it, otherwise it wouldn't be referenced on the chart. And a perfect golden cross retest. So with that, you'd be looking for a V-shaped recovery. So I would put it to you now, and I'm not suggesting that you sort of open positions based on anything that I say. That's crazy. But if we were just to block out all the noise and focus specifically on what we see opportunities for a V-shaped recovery for Bitcoin and a handful of altcoins. Not all, but a handful. Some were looking really good. I think FTM is particularly good. Already trying its hardest to make its way back up to its previous local high, which is good. So not all altcoins are created equal, we know that, but the ones that I focus on for the most part are all looking for a V-shaped recovery, to be honest with you, despite the chaos which is taking place around the world. Now, because there's chaos taking place around the world, maybe after you get the V-shaped recovery, you might want to dig into some profit there and just take some chips off the table, because I'm not saying to ignore the noise. I'm just saying if you're focused on charts specifically, they haven't actually broken down properly yet. The uptrend, or what we call it, the alt season in terms of, first gear, second gear, like a car, if you haven't got the analogy yet. The second gear is absolutely in place. So we've now moved into second gear. Second gear being buy the dips at major supports, being golden cross retests in the hope for V-shaped recoveries. So this would be the second gear. Moving for you've got the first gear, golden cross retest, change gear, up to the next level. Then third gear would be when we really start to see, well, not so much for Bitcoin because it already has golden crossed, but for other altcoins, when we get the same scenario that we see here on the 4 hourly generate on the daily, and that would be third gear, and then fourth gear. I don't know. You get the picture, right? You understand what I'm talking about. So we're looking for this second gear now. Hopefully we're not going to stall. It's very hard to stall in second gear, but it can. So yeah, we'll wait and see if the V-shaped recovery takes place. It's not uncommon. In fact, it's very common that this is the situation that we're looking at. I don't really see too much point in boiling down traditional markets, looking at S&P and stuff like that. But the one thing that I did notice yesterday when we were doing the stream is that the Nasdaq actually looks like it wants to make a new all-time high. The S&P perhaps not so much, but the Nasdaq definitely positioned in that particular way. In fact, we'll just have a look at the futures market while we're here. And see how that appears overnight. So the daily is where we were catching the support on the 20 moving average. At the moment, it's a bit of a lame move, but we're still doing it. It's not overheated right now, unlike the S&P. Just failed to get a... Oh, no, sorry. We haven't failed anything. What we saw last night, again, I don't trade the Nasdaq. I'm more of an S&P kind of guy, but what we see here is a three-component trend signal. Yes, that's right, a daily trend signal on the Nasdaq. So we've got positive cross above the cloud. This has taken place over a week ago, by the way, so I'm not suggesting you get in on this because of this. But we've got a cross above the cloud, conversion baseline. We've got the cheeky span above the price action, and obviously we've got the price action above the cloud. So those three things together is a trend signal, and the only way this trend would come to an end would be if the cheeky span closes in the price action, this little squiggly cheeky span, or the blue crosses the red, which seems unlikely to happen. If anything, it's going to happen by a cheeky span closing in the price action. So actually the Nasdaq, despite what you might feel and think is going on in the world right now, the Nasdaq actually giving all signs of a bounce to a new all-time high, actually. So I know that sounds shocking. It's probably going to be the opposite of what most YouTubers or Twitter people, I don't know what other people say for the most part. I really don't know what they say. I don't listen to them for good reason, because it takes me away from my own analysis. But that's what the Nasdaq looks like. So if the Nasdaq wants to do that, so you would imagine, all right, tech stocks, crypto, there is a correlation there, even though the S&P doesn't want to do that. The Nasdaq does. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. And I suppose that is it. There is a whole lot of other bearish things that probably you don't have time for today. Yeah, but we've spoken about them leading into what's happened this week so far anyway. So we're talking Tether dominance, Bitcoin dominance, Dixie support, overheated reads on the S&P. They're all still there, and you can see them sort of. You can see them. I'll just show you the dominance chart, the Tether dominance chart for the moment, bouncing from the trend line, which was also a major support on the weekly, which is a 20 moving averages, 200 exponential moving average. We're bouncing from there. So all of that is real. It's definitely all real, and all the other things that I've been saying, sort of the back end of last week, saying we could be leading into a dumptober rather than an October, giving you the opportunity to buy a major dip, which has been what I've been trying to explain over the last 5, 6, 7 days. There's going to likely be a dump, and it will be a buy the dip. I didn't anticipate, geopolitics and stuff like that. But if we were to think about the Tether chart, then look, that's a death cross retest is what it is. So if you're going to get rejected on the short term timeframes, you get rejected here, which only will complement a buy the dip scenario, because it's the opposite setup to what Bitcoin and many other altcoins are doing. So it is doing the opposite of what Bitcoin is doing. This is a bullish retest, as this is a bearish retest. But if we start to close above here, then we go straight up, much higher. If we break down from here, obviously we go down lower, and potentially even lower than that. So look, at the moment, it is a buy the dip in the hope for a V-shaped recovery based on the technicals. But if they fail, they fail. Right, thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.